What's going on, guys? We are in the front of the motor again. I spotted a problem with my cooling system. I was fixing the coolant leak that I had, that I kind of knew it was going to happen. I'll show you what happened. So I wanted AN lines to make it look nicer, and this just quite doesn't fit over the fitting on the heater core. So I tried pushing it on as hard as I could. And I don't know if you can really see that or not. It's kind of hard to tell. There you go. You can see it's kind of cut in there. Well, it cut down to the braid, and that's where it was leaking from. You live, you learn. I didn't know. I pretty much thought it was going to leak. I wasn't 100% sure, but I was like, fingers crossed, let me give it a shot. So I drained a lot of the coolant system out. Everything fine. I took the heater core hoses off because I'm like, I'm not going to worry about the other one on the other side. Let me just fix them both now. And when I took the fittings off the water pump, because I had tapped my water pump and put AN fittings for the heater core hoses. When I pulled those fittings off, I noticed a little bit of gelled, crusty coolant. Kind of odd. Coolant's been in the car for 2-3 months. Got maybe 3 or 4 heat cycles on it. Shouldn't really be gelling. Popped the water pump off, popped the thermostat out, and this is what I found. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what caused it. People online don't know what caused it. I put pictures up. You know, people are just winging it left and right on what it could be. I don't know. But what I do know is I'm not going to use that cheap coolant I had in there. It was some stuff from my last place, and it was a 50-50 green coolant. People are like, oh, you're supposed to use Dex Cool on a GM motor. You don't have to. You're not supposed to mix the stuff. That's what you're not supposed to do. You could see my Team Z motor plate in there. And I was like, you know what, while I'm in here, this would be a perfect chance to put the motor plate in. Well, I was going to put the motor plate in. I was going to take the time to put the motor plate in. But what I decided to do, because it needs a little work, like my alternator, I got 2 alternator bolts down here that this would have to be drilled for, and I got one for my tensioner over there that would have to be drilled for. Plus, I'm not sure if my frame rails are bent or the fact that my motor isn't in the right spot. I'm pretty sure the Team Z plate takes into account for the 3/4 inch offset like a factory Ford motor. The problem is I think the AJE K-frame centers the motor, which isn't a big deal, except I already built my turbo kit. And I'm not going to redo the turbo kit right now to do the motor mount. So I want to do the motor plate when I do the tube front end. I really want to get a 417 Motorsports tube front end, because this car wasn't in it. I know the frame rails were bent in this car. Yeah, I mean, you could see the kinks on each side. I know it was in a fender bender, left front, push the nose. We know how cheap these cars are and how shady they are built. So I want to cut that all off anyway and do a tube front on it, but that's just not in the cards right now, because then I'll have to redo all my radiator mounting, my intercooler mounting, turbo mounting. So I decided I'm not going to put the motor plate on right now. We'll save that for a later date. You know, I just kind of want to drive the car. I'm very close to driving it, so we're just going to scrap that idea right now and put this whole thing back together. I still got to flush out the engine, and I still got to flush out the radiator. I'm going to do the engine in the car here with everything apart. I have hot water in the garage through my hose. I moved it inside, and I'm just going to stick the hose in one side and catch everything that comes out on the other. And I'm going to do the same with the heater core. I soldered the fittings on here for my new heater quarter hoses, and I got anxious and ordered the 2 fittings I need here, but forgot to order the 2 fittings on the other side of the line. Kind of pisses me off. I do that all the time. Okay, well, I flushed pretty much everything out. Probably a little coolant here or there. What I'll do is when it's running good and everything's solid, I'll do a real flush on it. And I'll probably use like CLR and just keep pumping it through the motor that way. But that'll be later. Hopefully I got everything taken care of. Now let's start putting stuff together. I don't know what was left inside that motor, but it was freaking nasty. You saw me flush it with hot water. What you didn't see was I decided to stick my air gun in the top hole and blow out the remaining schmegma that was in there. And what I got was this black gunk fluid. I don't even know what it was, but it was black and it was nasty and it made a giant mess. It's all cleaned up now, but I literally had to blow it back out of the fins of the radiator because it just blew forward. It was pretty nasty and probably the reason for my issues. So when I get this all back together and it's running correctly and everything's right, I'm gonna have to do a serious coolant flush to this thing, and gonna use CLR with a pump and just continually pull the system. What I'll do is I'll probably take the thermostat out so it could just cycle through the whole motor. I don't know what that was. I bought this motor apart. Supposedly it came back from the machine shop. I mean, it was fresh. You could tell it was never ran. It was taken apart. I bought the short block and the heads, and they were all redone, but I don't know what was left in them packages. Piece of advice, don't use crappy paper water pump gaskets like I did. That came with the stuff. Get yourself some Felpro metal with rubber O-ring gaskets. They'll make your life a lot easier. You gotta take it back apart. The easiest way for me to do this, because I run 1/2-inch spacers here, is to start these bolts. Beautiful air, Pete. Now all my stuff on the front of that engine is from a company, ICT Bullet. Pretty sure we've talked about them before. Coil brackets, valley cover, alternator bracket, water pump spacers, tensioner bracket. I have a list of stuff from them. It's a great company, very affordable, and a damn good product in my eyes. And they got some amazing customer service. So I got their alternator kit here. Spaces it out to truck spacing. Very nice. You guys heard me say probably a couple hundred times by now, if you've been here since the beginning of that, attention to detail is one of my biggest things when building a car. And when I say that, I don't mean fresh paint or stuff like that. Attention to detail is the small little things that nobody will ever notice unless you really pick a car apart. But you'll notice it. And if you do these small little things, it'll be an overall better product, and nobody will notice it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right here on the alternator bracket, you can see that spacer sitting down on the back bracket. Same here. Now if you take the 30 seconds to loosen that bolt, hold that thing straight on there and tighten it back up, that's attention to detail. And it'll be better in the end, I promise. Okay, it's all back together again, minus my heater core. I just have to wait on Summit to ship them. It's Saturday. I doubt, it's Saturday night. They're not going to ship them tonight. They're not going to ship them Sunday. They'll ship them Monday. New Year's Eve is Tuesday, so whenever we get those, I will finish this up, put coolant back in it, and keep my fingers crossed again and make sure it all works. Get in the garage, crack a beer, sit back and relax and look at the car, or sit back, grab a wrench, and start working on your hot rod. Alright guys, have a good night.